And this is what happens when you give Joe tools.
Last week, I promised that we would have a bunch of stuff from Portugal because Zack was in Portugal. Well, he was so busy with meetings and other various things that he needed to do, he was unable to really get a whole lot of usable footage. So at the very least, I think we should have him give a little debrief, and also he's going to talk a little bit about the challenges that startups face when it comes to funding. So without further ado, here's Zack.
Like Arya was saying, I was just in Portugal. There's a lot of programs, mostly funded by the European Union, to do research projects or just, I guess, any sort of innovative project, developing new technology or doing some fundamental research. And especially there's a lot of incentives if you're doing that in an area that's a bit underdeveloped, so you can help grow the economy there. Most people don't realize that projects done by private industry have some government funding behind them. Whether it's startups or established companies, unless you have some really great contacts in some big venture capital firm or something like that wants to make a ton of money off of your company, there's almost always going to be some government funding involved in it. Even if you're going to a bank or something like that, a lot of times the money that's being given to you ultimately came from the government at some point. So what we care about is advancing the state of sustainable energy platforms, and we don't really care that much where we're doing it, as long as it's a good place for us to live and, you know, has respect for basic human rights and all of that. The United States was mostly funding, now it's not really funding anything. It was mostly funding the distribution of sustainable energy products, I guess. So like they would give a lot of money for installing wind turbines or for installing solar farms or putting solar power onto houses, or again, going back to lots of tax cuts for people who are willing to put solar on their house or who are willing to buy an electric car, things like that. But we've spent a lot of time looking into this, and the US doesn't really offer very much in terms of for R&D of new technology. It's part of the reason why in a lot of our social media, we feel pretty strongly about explaining what's lacking in current technology. It's not that we're trying to say like you have to buy our stuff or anything like that. It's just that I have a sort of fundamental problem with this philosophy of skipping the actual R&D which needs to be done and going straight to just pretending like the technology is fine and we can just replace fossil fuels by distributing what we currently have. Well, I mean, I guess it's possible if you're willing to pay enough money, but if you wanted to do 100% replacement of fossil fuels, existing technology is not there. We're basically the furthest from what VCs want. We're a hardware company, fundamentally. We're developing a fundamental new platform for energy collection, distribution, and use. And we have had some offers for VC funding, although we're in a very difficult situation because the state of VCs right now, as far as we can tell, sort of seems to be they decide what they want to invest in. Meaning, for example, like marketplaces, like the Uber of X or the Uber of Y or whatever, or machine learning for self-driving cars, or like they decide a few very specific things that they want to invest in, almost always software in the vast majority of cases, and then they find companies that fit that bill. Usually they find them through connections, that mutual connection. So someone at the corporation has to know a lawyer or has to know some big executive at a large company that also knows this VC. It's well known in the community that cold calls, cold emails, giving people your business card, applying for things without already having a contact there doesn't actually help. And even if it did, there's very few VCs that are offering any funding for hardware projects. And then even if you're doing hardware projects, there's even less that are offering funding for fundamental research. So generally they offer funding for, like, if you propose a new business model of we're going to do this with photovoltaic panels, or we're making this tiny part of a photovoltaic panel, so we're making this last coating that you put on the top. Those types of things you can get funding for. Something that is very easy to understand. Where the business plan is very, very simple, like step 1, 2, 3, and then you get a bunch of money, and everyone's happy. It's not good for what we're doing for just reasons on top of reasons on top of reasons, and there are other options that seem better to pursue. So that's the direction that we're going.
Joe and I want to do a panel cutout for our exhibit at the Singularity University Global Challenge Summit, which we got accepted into. We're one of 3 other companies specializing in water sanitation, and we think it'd be really cool if we had our collector, our solar collector, with a cutout down the middle so that you can kind of see the innards. So we're on the way to the warehouse where, as you guys will see, we will make our attempt at cutting the panel in half without ruining everything. So, see you there. Since this was a bad prototype, we're gonna use it. We're gonna create a cutout with it, or we're gonna try to, and use it at shows and stuff as a demo. So next time you see us at a show, you'll be seeing this panel modified to be a cutout for our exhibit. Moment of truth. Will it cut? Fourth try. I don't think we're wearing the right gear. So maybe we'll get changed. All right. If you're gonna saw through metal, have your battery charged. I'm terrified.